Hello from Arizona. Before I begin this video, I want to offer some thanks to every American who has offered support to Canada during this very difficult time and who recognizes the events that are occurring right now for precisely what they are: a colossal betrayal to your nation's closest, most loyal, longest friend and neighbor. Every Canadian appreciates you, and as I will get into in this video, Americans, you need these people. You need these Americans. I'd also like to clarify, as I will get into, that this is no longer a moment to have sympathy or to feel sorry for Canadians. That was last week. We will be fine. Right now, it is becoming increasingly clear that it's actually Canadians that are going to start feeling sorry for you. Dear Americans, the era of the polite, apologizing Canadian is over, and you killed it. Our relationship will never be the same. This tariff policy is not simply an economic policy. It is an all-out betrayal and an act of aggression against your longest, closest, most loyal friend and ally and neighbor. It is an attempt to batter and bruise Canada until we are so weak that your psychotic leader can annex us, take control of our resources, and impose his will on us. That is what is happening right now. What is more, and what is absolutely cowardly, is that he has picked the moment that Canada is at its weakest point in at least 35 years, kicking us when we are down. You have literally become worse than the villain of your own creation story. At least with England, they actually had a credible argument, a credible claim, as you were their colony. They did subsidize your development and so forth. They actually had an argument. You guys have none right now. And to be clear, had I been around at the time in 1776, I would have been a rebel. I would have been a revolutionary. I would not have been a loyalist. But America, you are now quite literally worse than 1775 England. You have lived long enough to see yourselves become the villain of your own story by your own standards. And make no mistake about this. This may have started off as a Trump thing, as a MAGA thing, but this is not a Trump thing. This is not a MAGA thing. This is not a Republican thing. For me, as a Canadian in America, that is not even nowhere near my main concern. What has hit the hardest is the absolute, it's a bit too harsh, the widespread indifference of Americans to what is happening right now. Go look around on Twitter at any American politician you want, any pundit, any commentator of any political persuasion. Go see if they're talking at all about this. And if they are, go see if they have even made the briefest of mention about the betrayal, about the well-being of Canada, or about the well-being of Canadians. What you will be stunned to find is that, look as hard as you want, you will find quite few cases of high-profile or even mid-profile American politicians, pundits, commentators, celebrities, and so forth who are showing the slightest bit of awareness to what has happened here. That is what's hitting the hardest. I'll give a few examples. On the right, a couple days ago, I saw a video by Ben Shapiro. He was saying that Trump should not do these tariffs. But he made it very clear, very clear. He said, don't get me wrong, I don't care about Canada very much. He was very clear. His only concern was the impact on America. On the other side of the political spectrum, check out the Young Turks, the biggest progressive news outlet online. They've been talking about this a while. I've watched quite a few of their videos in the matter. Guess how many times, to my knowledge, they have referenced the betrayal, the well-being of Canada, the well-being of Canadians. As far as I can tell, and I've watched quite a few of their videos, absolutely none. They are only talking about this in terms of the impact on America. That's it. And in both of these cases, this is despite the fact that both the Daily Wire and the Young Turks have substantial Canadian audiences. They just don't care. A few days into this whole situation, this whole shit show, I went looking at a variety of American commentators, politicians' Twitter accounts. I checked out both Obamas, both Clintons, Ro Khanna, Pete Buttigieg, A.B. Klobuchar, AOC, and more. Absolutely none of them had even so much as said the word Canada. This was 2 or 3 days in. But the most stunning, the most appalling case of American indifference is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, who is pretty much American Justin Trudeau, he has every reason to take a stand against what is happening right now. He is, in all likelihood, going to be a primary Democratic contender for president in 4 years. He is anti-Trump. And most critically, it has been maybe 6 weeks since Canada sent water bombers and had our own firefighters on guard, ready to come down to California to put out what might be, to my knowledge, the single biggest forest fire, wildfire in American history. This was 6 weeks ago. He had every motivation, every reason. And he did not even so much as mention Canada. He did not condemn this. That is absolutely stunning, intolerable, unforgivable indifference. Getting personal. I have lived in Arizona for over 10 years. I'm known among the people that know me here as being quite proudly Canadian. Despite this, and despite how I have really been sounding the alarm about what's been happening here, I have had a grand total of 4 Americans that I know reach out to me in any way or post on their own social medias against what is happening right now. When you put all this together, how am I to interpret this? The Democrats, by and large, are saying nothing. Political commentators, celebrities, whatever you want to say, by and large, most of them are saying nothing. And in terms of the Americans, and again, as I said, many Americans are absolutely being vocal and they get what's happening here, and I fully appreciate them. But they are the exception to the rule. They may be a sizable minority, but they are a minority. And here's what has happened. This is the most devastating to America's reputation thing that has happened here. Canada is your closest friend, your longest friend, your single most loyal friend. And we have found out in unmistakable terms that the absolute worst stereotype that the world has about America, namely that you people by and large do not care about anyone but yourselves, that has been shown to be majority true. And I am so sorry for the Americans who are not like this. I know you're embarrassed by it. And again, I will say it 100 times. Everyone in Canada appreciates you. And if we ever forgive America for this, it'll be because of you. It'll be because we know that there are a sizable chunk of Americans who are not at all represented by what I just said, and we will eventually feel bad about hurting you. So keep it up, genuinely. And make no mistake about it, this will hurt Canada, but nowhere near as much as it will hurt you. In many ways, your douchebag president has done Canada a massive favor. Canada has been as divided as I've ever seen it until now. You have united us like we have never been united before. I kid you not, and I've talked to Canadians much older than me. I'm 42. I've talked to Canadians much older than me. We all agree. This is the maddest Canadians have ever been about anything. We are not fucking around with you. We may have our own disagreements in our country, and they are severe. But when two people are having a fist fight and a rabid dog shows up, those two people need to stop throwing punches at each other and unite against the common threat. And right now, that's you. Canada has made mistakes. We've let our military languish. And this is something that Donald could actually reasonably criticize us for. I will flat out say it right now, and it is a mark of shame. We have been free riding on America and on the United Kingdom for security for way too long. Okay? Granted, we have been underfunding NATO like many countries. And here's something, I'll throw a bone. A big part of the Canadian national identity for a long time has been in the form of basically distinguishing ourselves from America in ways that put ourselves up and put you guys down. At the end of the day, we are always your ally and we are the first ones to help you. But we have our grievances. But one thing that I've been critical of my own for is that we underfund our military because we know that we can free ride on America. And then we have all this additional money left over for things like universal healthcare and affordable education and more thoroughly developed social programs and so forth. And then we look down our noses at Americans for not having that. But if it wasn't for American protection, we might not be able to afford it. So there, I will give you that one. That is something Canada needs to change. And Pierre Poilievre, who I am quite confident will be our next elected prime minister, he will be putting that as a priority. Another mistake Canada's been making, and they've been making it for understandable, noble reasons, is blocking the development of coast-to-coast pipelines and radically increasing our ability to produce our own liquefied natural gas. As a result of that, no one has benefited more than America, because when you cannot get your oil to the coasts, you have no one to sell it to but yourself and America. As a result, Canada has been giving America Black Friday discount deals on crude oil for a very long time. And not because we're nice, but because we cannot get it to anyone else. Well, guess what? Now, even Canadian environmentalists are going to have to admit that this is a matter of existential concern. We need to build the pipelines. We need to make our own LNG refineries, lots of them, so that we don't have to send our crude oil to you, to have you guys refine it, to send it right back up to us. You guys are going to suffer because Black Friday is ending. It might take 10 years, but it's ending, and you will never get those discounts again. And you know who you have to blame for that. If you've got a problem, take it up with Donald. Another mistake Canadians have been making is that we've been putting way too many of our eggs in the American basket because we foolishly thought that we could trust you. But we've learned our lesson. Our leadership is in deep, productive talks with countries around the world who also have lost their ability to trust you, because if you will betray your closest friend, you will betray anybody. And everybody knows that. The only country that has any reason to have a sense of security that they will not be betrayed by you is Israel. That's it. And that's why things are going to be so much worse for America than they will be for Canada. You see, the rest of the world, they're not just disgusted with you, and make no mistake about it, they are. They know that they can't afford to trust you anymore. Every country on earth but Israel needs to make contingency plans. What that will mean is that every country in the world will actively seek out new places to sell things, new places to buy things, and new countries to make military alliances with, because we can't depend on you. Like, what do you want us to do here? Now, you may be the biggest, richest, toughest kid in school, and everyone might want to come to your house for pool parties, but you've made a big mistake. You've picked a fight with like 50 other students the same month. In the course of maybe 6 weeks, you have picked fights with Canada, Mexico, Panama, Greenland and Denmark, the entire European Union, the entire Islamic world, with this talk of basically turning Gaza into the Mayan Riviera, into a real estate and tourism project. And I haven't even mentioned Ukraine, Russia. So you may be the toughest, the richest kid in school, the biggest kid in school, but you now have a whole bunch of enemies, and a whole bunch of them are friends. And also, by the way, no offense, you've been getting kind of fat. And guess what? It gets even worse. China is now playing the babyface. China is calling out your authoritarian, imperialistic bullying and calling for diplomacy. You have made China be able to credibly pose as something vaguely resembling the good guy. Your psychotic president, your grossly indifferent political class, your utterly feckless Democrats, and your majority indifferent general population has not just woken up Canada, it has woken up every single ally you have. Canada may be vulnerable right now, but increasingly, unlike you, we still have friends. Nothing I can say here can truly, fully communicate the level of contempt that Canadians are harboring towards America right now. Our relationship is irreparably damaged. We are doing everything we can to avoid buying your stuff. We are canceling our trips, voiding American contracts, and we are doing everything we can to depend on you less and less and less. We don't need to travel to you. We don't need your alcohol. We don't need your cars. And as the years go by, we'll need you less and less and less. And so will the rest of the world. Now, some MAGA types and even some Canadians have literally laughed at the idea of Canada standing up to America in a trade war. You can't beat them. They're bigger. They're richer, they say. See, in order to win, though, we don't actually need to fully win. In jiu-jitsu, if a smaller person is going up against a much larger person, the smaller person does not throw all of them against all of the big person. No, they throw all of them at part of the bigger person. They go after an ankle. They go after an elbow. If the smaller person can get the big person in an ankle lock, that big person will quite possibly have a very, very embarrassing ass kicking to have to explain. And right now, Canada and other countries around the world, we are going after both your ankles, both your wrists, both your eyes, and your balls. The ankles, that's Kentucky bourbon and California wine. The wrists, that's Arizona and Florida tourism. The eyes are your agriculture. And when we stop buying your cars, that is going to be one of the biggest kicks in the balls you guys have faced and felt in a long time. The era of the polite Canadian is over. Canadians, it is time for a more muscular Canada. A fairly accurate stereotype about Canadians is that we reflexively apologize. No more apologies. And it's an absolute shame that we are where we are right now. When I moved here, I thought I was moving from my country, my homeland, my tribe, to our best friend's house. That's what I thought. And I cannot tell you how unbelievably disheartening and dispiriting and disappointing it has been to me to see not just Trump and MAGA, but to see just broad scale indifference in this country where caring is a minority opinion when it comes to Canada, to my people, to your closest ally. And so one more time, to every American who has been supportive and recognizes this betrayal and act of national aggression for what it is, I and every Canadian thank you. And for every American who maybe sort of gets it now more than they did before this video started and is coming around, thank you in advance. Welcome to the fight. This isn't fun for Canada. This isn't fun for Canadians. This isn't fun for me. I'm here in America right now. We don't like losing our best friend. We'd prefer not to lose our best friend. I don't want to have to walk around Arizona thinking that most of the people that I walk by don't really give a shit about Canada. It's not a good feeling. To give a metaphor of what this is like, imagine you've been in a long-term relationship with someone and you love them. You might have criticisms toward them, but you love them. And after a few years in, they just told you that they never really had feelings for you. They just kind of called you when they were bored or when they were aroused. That's pretty much what is happening right here. To conclude, I will say that no one is more interested than I am in mending this rift. I do, in fact, live here, so I have a vested interest in our nations not having hostilities toward each other. But it's going to take a lot. What it's going to take is Americans and American politicians showing in a substantial way that caring about our relationship, caring about Canada, is not a minority position in this country. When that starts happening, I will be the first one to praise it. And nothing would make me happier than to have to, in a week or two, make a video in which I have to apologize for this one and say I was wrong. I would love to make that video. Please help me make that video by showing me that I'm wrong. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will be posting more on this soon. I'm going to be going through all of Trump's lies on this matter. I will be delivering a message to Canadians on what it's like to be Canadian in America right now, what I think we need to be doing. And I'll be talking a lot more about all of these things because this is the biggest issue in Canadian history. And as we're going to find out, it is a very, very big deal for America. And everyone needs to be paying attention, and everybody needs to be taking this seriously. Elbows up, Canada first, Canada strong, Team Canada, and most importantly, no more apologies.